What's up, guys? This is Lucid Rain, and today you're here with Johnny, aka Floralprintgod,
Hello.
and hello. And we are gonna talk about a few SCPs. We don't know how many we're gonna get through, but we'll get through as many as we can, and just SCPs that we find interesting and destructive, most likely, at least in my case. So yeah, so I guess I'll start. The first one I have is SCP-221, which is literally a pair of gold tweezers. And what it does is it inflicts severe OCD in anyone who holds them. So what happens is you hold them and you start to slowly remove hairs from your body with them. And then you remove your fingernails, then you start removing teeth, then you start removing your skin, and then you start removing like your organs. So like the longer you have them, if no one like intervenes, you could end up just killing yourself with them. And if 221 is taken away from the person becomes extremely violent and aggressive to like get them back. And if they can't get them back, then they basically continue that behavior with their own hands instead of the tweezers. So pretty much if you hold them for too long, you're like guaranteed to die, essentially.
Sounds like a nice way to go out. Jesus.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
pretty
horrible.
brutal. Like,
So, did they have a incident report where it's like there's a time limit? Like after you reach like 20 minutes, like it's over for you. Like there's no point of no return.
I didn't see that.
No, but I know one of the case files was they had two people basically using it, and one stabbed the other one and killed them, and then went on basically mutilating themselves, and then eventually bled out and died as well.
So did they
like,
like
it
take
makes you
turns? Like they're
violent.
like you take it like that, and then at one point like just covetous.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I believe they were taking turns, and then one of them said, "I'm not doing it anymore," and stabbed and killed the other one, and then continued on.
like with the tweezers
Yeah,
he killed. Oh, jeez.
Feeding blood to the tweezers. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this part that they've taken samples from the tweezers, like pieces of it off, and the pieces would just like come back, like so you can't like really destroy it. Like you
Oh,
can
it's
if
one
you
of
did.
those.
I assume you can if you destroy all of it instantly, but if you just destroy some of it, the pieces like just come back. So yeah, I wish I knew like the time frame of how long it would take for someone to like get to the point of no return where they basically can't be saved anymore, because I don't think they like specified exactly how long that would take.
yeah, I think it's just like what can your body take. I think it's really just how long do you have the tweezers in your possession, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Because if
Yeah.
somebody takes them from you before you mutilate yourself, yeah, you're probably fine. But
But then you go crazy.
Well, yeah, when they take them away from you, you get aggressive, and
But
then
like, at what point is it too late
yeah,
before you become aggressive? Like, how many hairs do you go through? I imagine somewhere between like all of your leg hair and your fingernails is the point in
yeah.
between. Like,
I'm
once you have
thinking
fingernails, I think you're done.
that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking once you start doing like fingernails, you're like past the point of no return, and once they take them away, you're just gonna first of all freak out, and then second of all, just continue the operation with your own hands. So
I mean, how do you start taking like if you start with your fingernails, how do you take stuff off of you without fingernails? Like you've removed your fingernails. Like you start gripping yourself up. Like
yeah, I guess that's true. How would you possibly get your own organs out without your nails? I mean, it'd be hard with your nails, of course, but like
I was
it'd be even
yeah.
harder without them.
How you gonna take your teeth out, dude? I guess you could punch yourself in the face until they
I mean,
fall
you
out.
probably, if you really, I think you have enough strength to like rip your teeth out. It'd be extremely hard and painful, but like being painful is not the issue here.
Yeah, if you're going crazy,
Yeah.
that's a
So
fun
like,
one.
yeah, that's like absolutely brutal way to die.
That's a rough
Like,
one.
yeah. But yeah, one of you
Better
can
than-
go.
you can go ahead.
All right. So mine is not as brutal to the test subjects, but is brutal in nature. My SCP is SCP-6373, which is notated as Stage Blight, as its little, nickname. Currently classified as neutral, but previously it was, I believe, Keter. I think it was his previous designation while it was active.
Is Keter worse than Euclid, or is Euclid worse? Because I think I thought Euclid was worse, but I don't remember.
I think Euclid is worse. I'll have to go
Okay.
back in and take a look at it. Yeah,
Okay.
Euclid is actually, I think Euclid's one step below. Hold on. We'll come back to that in a moment because right now
Yeah,
my
continue.
thing's neutralized. I thought it was Safe, Euclid, Keter, and there's one beyond, or one or two beyond, where it's like a
I
fourth
believe that.
dimensional being.
That sounds right.
Oh, okay.
Because I think Euclid's like, it's dangerous if it gets going, but otherwise, like if you put it in a box with the thing that pacifies it, it's good.
Okay.
But safe is also just, if you put the tweezers in a box, it's a safe object.
Right.
So there you go. Let's see here. So this SCP is actually just a collection of puppets that are about a meter tall, and they're just literally paper mache puppets. So the thing about them is that they perform stage plays by themselves, just in a theater, and they seem to be sentient, but at the same time not cognizant of anything beyond the stage. So they just sort of do their shows, and there's plastic strings around them like regular puppets. The thing that's kind of gross about them is that they smell horrible, described as emitting a strong rotting odor causing visceral nausea. And this response is entirely non-anomalous, which means it just is rank. So every day they do the same thing. Every day at 1800 hours, they will gain anomalous properties and then limited sentience, and then they just start doing their stage play. So they had a number of occurrences recorded, because I think this is a pretty old SCP in terms of like how long it's been active. If I could find a date for the earliest performance. Also, it's stationed right here in Pennsylvania, 1860. There we go.
Oh,
That was in 1860 for the theater that it's based in. Is the Gulford Theater, which I've been to before. It's pretty, seems like something an SCP would show up to. The theater was closed in 1884 after embezzlement was committed by the wife of the theater manager. Oh, you know what? That I lied to you. That theater doesn't exist. That was another theater.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of old theaters in Pennsylvania, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Right. So is it like a full-blown stage, like an actual?
Yeah, it's a full theater. It's a full-blown theater that was established in 1860 by French immigrant and entrepreneur Timothy Goffred. Probably mispronouncing that name, but he used to do puppet shows. But mainly for children, so just little simple theater things with all those little puppets. In 1884, it was closed due to embezzlement from his wife, and it was done because Goffred was unfaithful in their marriage, resulting in a subsequent lawsuit battle, and Goffred lost. And then he disappeared a week after that divorce in 1886, and then his wife disappeared. So that wasn't good. And then the first time there was an anomalous effect was pretty much the year right after, in 1887. Now, the thing that's interesting about this SCP report are all of the performances, starting from 1887 all the way to the last performance in 1885. So 1985, my mistake.
Okay.
So for almost 100 years, they've been doing the same shit.
So they're not actually dangerous?
So
Not anymore. If you read through the performances, they just become entirely deranged. The main puppet was very abusive to the other puppets. I'll go up the list and describe the puppets for you real quick, because the overview, I would imagine the SCP itself is the entire stage, or the event that happens on the stage. The cast includes 4 SCPs. The first one is an elderly male with a pointed nose, large eyes, and he's wearing a striped shirt and was referred to as Pierre, and serves as the performance host and central character. Dash 2 is a large, bald, disembodied head with sizable ears and opaled mouth inspection, referred to as Golton, and he's incapable of speaking outside of deep, guttural moaning and single-word statements. So kind of like, oh, pancakes, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Dash 3 is a small, disembodied head with closed, sunken eyes, a solemn expression, and it's noticeably smaller than the other one, and its skin is painted a discolored gray. It has no limbs, no strings, and it's just sort of rolling around. It's referred to as Amy, A-M-E, very French way to do it. It doesn't talk or make any noise, but will on occasion just cry quietly, and is just physically abused by Pierre, verbally and physically. And the last one is a long-necked clown wearing an outfit typical to such clowns. It's the only puppet with a hinged jaw intended to operate with the use of a piece of string, so it's the only one that can like talk.
Mhm.
It's referred to as Jacques and serve as the comic relief. Jacques also has a catchphrase, "Isn't that funny?" to punctuate jokes that are not funny.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds like it'd
So-
be a horrible show to sit into.
It is a
honestly.
horrible show, and they get progressively worse as it goes to the point where they're just screaming and shitting themselves. The last performance in 1983, the day before, it just says the performance is entirely indecipherable. Just
Okay.
straight up. Their actual final performance is all the characters standing side by side for 18 minutes, and they don't say anything, and then collectively bow, fall to the stage, and then that's it.
All right.
It was later found after puppets normally disappeared after each performance, so they couldn't actually investigate them. But after that last performance, their bodies, I should say, were just lying on the stage. After going in there and dissecting each one, it was discovered to contain preserved human remains and organs. All remains are presumably sourced from a single individual. Their contents have been listed below. Pierre contained a brain, Jacques contained a heart, Gluton contained a calamitous mass of excessive organs, and unbroken layer of epidermal skin tissue, fecal matter, and hair, and Ami was found empty. Examination of unfolded skin tissue found within Gluton's revealed a resemblance to the wife of Pierre. So,
Okay.
in essence, this dude went crazy, somehow performed magic on his puppets, killed his wife after losing a lawsuit, shoved her cut up body into the sections, and then was forced to perform for 100 years. Although,
Yeah, no wonder it fucking stinks in there. Good
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
just some rotting bodies
Yeah, I
folded
was
up in
actually-
paper mache.
I was actually wondering like why they just for no reason smelled awful. I was like, why though? But I guess that explains it.
Reading through it, if you get the time, like going through the performances, it actually is a little unclear who cursed who in this sense.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times, like as you're reading it, it reads like Cynthia was the victim in this. But as you're going, Pierre makes some comments outside of performance that make it sound like maybe Cynthia cursed him as she was dying. So they were just forced, like their souls were trapped in there for a while. It's a really interesting read, and I highly recommend it. I also prefer these types of SCPs to the murder monster that just kills people because
Yeah. Yeah.
scary.
Oh yeah. I think some of the less dangerous ones are actually more interesting. So,
I think this is a great SCP, and I highly recommend anyone to start with something like this, or You could always do the fan favorite of the flesh that hates. I think that's a great SCP as well. Like it's just the right level of odd, scary, and also very threatening.
Yeah, right.
Great imagery as well.
Do you want to go, Chris?
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
my first one would be SCP-657, which is pretty much just a normal guy. It's a normal Caucasian male, approximately 55 years of age, mostly bald, pretty normal guy, but he has the ability to predict the time of any individual's death with extreme accuracy. So, and all he needs is physical contact with the individual. So, I don't know. I thought that that's a pretty interesting ability to have, just, touching someone that pretty much being able to see when they're going to die. I mean, that'd be useful in a lot of situations, especially with what the SCP Foundation has to deal with on a regular basis.
Right.
Mhm.
So having someone like that, would probably be pretty beneficial. I don't think it went in any details if it only affects human beings, or if he would be able to tell whenever anything is going to die. I'm not really sure if there's if they specified on that, but yeah, that is pretty cut and dry. It's just a gentleman that can tell people's death date by touching
So he's
them.
just a guy, like.
Yeah, he's just an otherwise normal person.
Okay.
I
That's
always
interesting.
find those interesting. People that would basically just be like D-list superheroes in like another world are just like kept in a facility forever because
Yeah.
they're weird.
Because they have one ability that's not necessarily even dangerous.
Yeah, like the girl who can take pictures and then travel into the pictures. They just
don't know
use
if I know
her
that.
as an assassin. I think I
Gee. What? So how did they? My question is, how did they find this guy? That's like, you think this guy was like doing some like psychic shit, like, hey, I could tell you when you'll die or something, and then they're just like, wait a minute,
yeah,
he's
I think
accurate.
I think that sounds accurate. That sounds
Yeah,
like something that happens, or like he got in
from
trouble with the law and they found
from
out.
what I understand, they treat him pretty nicely. Like 3 square meals a day, a queen size bed,
Okay.
and other reasonable furnishings,
I
as
mean,
requested by him. So, like, at least, yeah. I mean, you're kind of in jail essentially, but like,
yeah,
at least they're not fucking him.
yeah. I mean,
Golden
they should
cage.
treat him. They should treat him nicely because he's just a dude, right? Like,
Here's
he's
the
not
thing,
a
though.
creature.
I would not want to be in an SCP containment facility.
Yeah. I
Those
mean,
shits blow up all the time.
yeah. I mean, containment breaches.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
like
would be
imagine.
kind of a dangerous for a Foundation worker to interact with, honestly, just because one touch and then like he'd be able to hold that information over your head. So, I mean, he would probably be able to manipulate people pretty easy because that's a pretty big fact to be able to hold over someone's head. So, like, I don't know, that could be pretty dangerous in the right circumstance.
That's gotta be fucked up for relationships. Like, imagine you find like the partner of your dreams, and then you give him a handshake, and then you're like, "Oh, you die
Yeah.
tomorrow, freak accident. You have
Yeah.
24 hours to live. What do you do?"
I think it's even. I almost think it's scarier if it's like not like tomorrow. If it's more just like, I don't know.
The anxiety
a
of having
year.
it be like in 40 years.
Yeah, or even anything between like a year to however many years, because you're gonna mark that on your calendar. You're gonna be like, all right, I know when this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna like prepare for it. Like that would be
Yeah, but what if it's
horrible.
like the day you go out, like you're one of the soldiers, and you're like, "Oh, we're gonna go on assignment to this safe facility over here today," and you're like, "But this is the day I die." So what do you do? Do you warn someone? Do you say like, "Hey, this guy told me I was gonna die today. This is not gonna be safe. Should we get some backup going on? Like, will that prevent your
Yeah.
death or cause it?"
Well,
I
here's the
wonder-
thing. It says extreme accuracy. So I would assume if he reads your death, you're pretty much fucked. Like,
So,
it pretty
even
much
if you
means
try
it's going
to-
to happen.
even
But
if you
could
try to
save
prevent
someone
it,
else,
you
right?
can't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which I guess is why he's sitting in the SCP Foundation, containment.
Yeah, can't let the president get a hold of him.
yeah, that being a normal guy with that power is actually kind of horrible. I kind of feel bad for that guy because like
Like I was
you
saying
touch
before, it's not. How do you have a relationship at
yeah
all with
you
anyone
touch
or
you
anything?
touch anyone at all, and you see like, oh well, that person's gonna die at this point, and it's like that's just horrible to like just to have that information. Not that you need to tell that person, but
But
like you
it's for
have
your
the
psyche,
information.
yeah.
Yeah, just knowing like in the back of your head, yeah, this person's gonna die like probably like possibly sooner than this person should. Like kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. It kind of it reminds me of Rogue from X-Men, where she can't touch anyone, or else she like sucks their soul out of their body.
Oh yeah.
She would be an interesting SCP.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's made her an SCP, or at least her powers. By the way, I did look up the classifications. We were correct. It does go safe, Euclid, Keter,
Oh, okay.
and then it has a couple more above that.
All right. I'll
Classic.
go. So my next one is SCP-957. So this is a humanoid thing. Like it looks like a person, but also looks a lot creepier than a person. It has no internal organs, requires no food, no water, no sleep, or anything to survive. And what it does is it lives in a house with a single person. It can't live in a house with if there's anyone else besides one person, right? And so once it targets one person, it basically forces that one person through like a portal within its own body. And they stay there for about 4 hours. When they come out, they'll have big gaps in their memory, and they'll have no eyes. And the reason they have gaps in their memory and no eyes is because they'll think when they come out that they've been blind their whole life, and that that SCP-5957 was a family member that's been with them their whole life. And so he basically just completely throws your life upside down. It doesn't kill you, but it might as well kill you. And what it does is the person that it takes the eyes from and like screws up their memory, they go out into a crowded area once a month and they beg for help finding their home because like they're blind. So they're like, hey, help me, I can't find where I'm going or whatever. So they lure people back to their house as best as they can. And then SCP-957 goes to them and essentially kills them. Like he puts like not he.
I
but
think it's a little more brutal than kills. Like it basically lures people in and traps them in a pocket dimension and just slowly eviscerates them. And there is more than one entity. Once you enter in the pocket dimension, essentially.
Oh, like in
Yeah.
the SCP. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it basically traps you in a pocket dimension and just fucking tortures you and like tears you to pieces and then feeds your body to the I guess the victim.
Oh, you're talking
the
about
other
when...
victim.
Oh, the person that they lured back, right?
Yeah, the person that they lure back gets killed,
yeah.
and then it
Yeah, and then they
feeds the
feed 'em.
person that is the bait, essentially.
Right.
So
Yeah. So basically, they eat like the person,
Yeah,
the blind person.
basically-
eats that victim.
yeah, it turns people into cannibals, pretty much, like
Pretty
forced
much, yeah.
cannibalism.
Yeah,
Oh, that sounds fun.
and so when the person they're living with that is now blind, when they finally die, it moves on to the nearest house that has a single person in it. So it repeats the process.
Oh, that's fun. They just keep going.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he does. And apparently I keep saying he, but its gender is not known, I don't think. It's like it speaks an unknown language, but it also knows English, apparently. So they can decipher
I believe
some of
that
the-
it is currently contained.
I think it is contained.
Do they just keep feeding D class to it? Like, what do you mean?
I don't know how they contain it.
I'm
I
pretty
actually don't
sure
know
that it's
that.
just in a room, pissed.
It probably, I mean, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't need water, food, or sleep, so it can survive no matter what. So it doesn't need anything. There's no maintenance. Like, it just sits there, I guess. And-
So, like, what is it eating people for? Just being weird?
Yeah, I guess just to do it. I don't know.
I don't know why it's doing what it does. I mean, it's just like inherently evil, I guess. I actually don't even know why. I mean, people can't really talk to it because if it's unknown language, like it knows English, but it doesn't really speak English because it decides not to, not because it can't. So they don't really know why it does what it does. It just does.
It just does. Yeah. Okay, so let's list off the abilities here. All right, so we got some type of anomalous ability to wipe memories,
And take people's eyes away somehow.
and take people's eyes. So something's going on there. That's anomalous. And then it just moves on. It's
Yeah,
biologically
Just does it
immortal,
again.
I suppose. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm
maybe
sure they've tried to shoot it in the head, right? Like,
I
You know,
don't know. I wouldn't be so
I don't
sure.
think they described having any violent action, so I guess they were able to catch it easily, or
Yeah.
it came willingly.
It's not like aggressive or anything. It's just like it just does what it does and keeps doing it. But it's
But
not
it's-
gonna fight you.
I would describe
it's
ripping
clearly
people's eyes out as
sentient.
aggressive.
No,
So
yeah, it's aggressive in a different way, I suppose.
Fair.
it's calculated.
Yeah, and it is dangerous though. Not just because of the person that it takes the eyes from and shit, but because it lures people over and over and over again to feed to the initial victim. So it's actively killing people.
Yeah, kind of a serial killer vibe.
So it's I don't know what's worse. Actually, no, I do know what's worse. It's definitely worse for the first victim than it is for, I think, for the person they lure in. Because the person they lure in.
Well,
then
I
again,
guess at least I don't know, because one of them at least could die a natural death, so you can
That's
just die of
true.
old age. Whereas getting like tortured for 12 hours and ended up pile of meat. I mean, that
That's true.
sounds
I mean-
pretty horrible.
Sounds pretty bad.
yeah.
But
I guess the lured in victim is worse because the initial victim is they're oblivious to their situation, right? They think they're blind. I mean, not well, they are blind, but they think
now,
they're just living with a family member that's feeding them. They don't think anything of it. So honestly, they're not suffering anymore when you think about it, like at all.
well, they're probably suffering from that cannibal disease that you get for eating people, and that will kill you fast as well. So probably doesn't have to take care of those people for long. What is that disease called? Cannibal?
I don't know. I don't think I knew that was a thing, but I'm not surprised that that's a thing.
Yeah, there's a disease you get for being a
Yeah.
cannibal.
I think it's a brain-eating amoeba.
yeah,
Really?
cannibalism.
I think you can only get it from eating pink matter or gray matter or whatever the fuck it's called. I get like brain matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to look up cannibalism desserts. Thanks.
What? Yeah. So that's just like that thing is actually just evil.
It's not a friendly kind of guy.
And like you said earlier, the ones that aren't just openly just like, yeah, just die, kill everything that's around me. The ones that aren't like that are actually more interesting, in my opinion. So, like this one.
Well, I don't know. I think if there's sentience there and pre-planning, I think that's a lot more terrifying because
It
there's
kind of is.
it's moving with intent rather than just blind like primal instinct
Right. Yeah.
and what have you.
Oh yeah. The
so-
thing is intelligent. I mean, it chooses to like.
Here we go.
It
I
chooses
found
to
it.
do it and chooses to do that to people's memory.
Are you ready? This is from the National Institute of Health. It's Kuro disease, Kuro, is an infectious, acquired, non-immunogenic, fatal neurodegenerative pion poison disease. It progresses rapidly with cerebral and exodermal signs and symptoms, with death occurring within 1 to 2 years of onset symptoms. The end of cannibalism has put an end to this disease, also known as mad cow disease.
No shit.
So his victims are dying within a year and suffering, immeasurably the whole time if they're being force-fed constantly, human
Yeah,
flesh.
so yeah, I guess so. If they're eating
The
someone once a
I
month,
will say this: the example that was used in the first story that is described, it was an 87-year-old man. So, and I think they said he was that way for at least 17 years and died of natural causes. So I don't know if they're just like if it's just luck or if he tries to essentially like orchestrate who is going to be baited in to be eaten in the first place. You know,
It could
it's kind
also
of
be that the
impossible
writer
to say.
forgot or didn't know that that was a thing.
well, I'm
Yeah,
assuming it just
I mean
lures whoever it can
that's
get.
more than likely what it is. But
Yeah.
if we're sticking with the lore and trying to use logic, I guess.
It's an anomalous effect because the creature does a thingy. That's how I always say it. Like, it's magic. Just keep going. Suspension.
Yeah, that's about
disbelief.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, it
So,
can make a pocket dimension, so I think that's a little more far fetched
Yeah,
than
I mean, I'd say so.
being able to.
Mad cow disease.
Yeah.
What are you guys gonna go? I forget who's like next.
Yeah, you can
think-
go ahead.
Oh yeah, Johnny's next.
Yeah, I could probably go for it. I'm kind of caught between two SCPs. I was thinking about doing the organic circuit board because I really think its containment procedures are really interesting.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
But I also really enjoy the Infinite IKEA. I think it's incredibly popular.
Oh yeah,
I think it has a video game made about it specifically as well.
there probably is.
Also, just a quick thing on it. SCP-3008 is the Infinite IKEA class object of Euclid. Here's the thing about it. It's just an Infinite IKEA, but it's also considered the last bastion in case a universe-ending scenario occurs, because there are always people inside of there that form tribe societies because of the meatballs.
What?
Yeah.
So it's a fully functioning IKEA.
It's a fully functioning IKEA with food and everything, water and building block materials, everything.
That actually makes a lot of sense that it would be like the last bastion if something like goes wrong, because like
With its own automated defenses, considering the giant flesh abominations that roam the store at night, saying you have to leave the premises. But instead of escorting you out, they just beat the fuck out of you.
Wait, so how do you get in there if
You
there's
just walk
defenses?
in? No, during the day there's no defenses. It's at night
Oh,
because the
okay.
store's closed. When the store is open, it's an IKEA.
Oh,
It's
okay.
literally an IKEA.
So are you able to leave that, or once you get in there, you're
It's
in there?
infinitely generating. So if you have a string attached to the entrance, yes, you can leave. But it's an IKEA. You're going to get lost.
So is it a massive building that gets bigger, or is it just massive on the inside when you get in?
It's massive on the inside. It's ever expanding on the inside. The IKEA just looks like a regular IKEA from the front.
Okay.
But as you go through, it just keeps going and going. And the thing about it is, it's theorized from its previous victims, there's entire societies and kingdoms embedded within that IKEA because it has infinite resources.
That's crazy.
Literally infinite
That doesn't
resources.
sound like a horrible place to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Until it becomes nighttime and they spawn 30-foot faceless flesh abominations that demand that you leave because the store is closed.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty bad to deal
I
with.
mean, good luck trying to leave though, because if you walk in there too deep, you're probably lost. So
Yeah, I mean, you could probably survive because those flesh guys aren't strong. They're only as strong as a person, but like, kind of like the same way as zombie is strong. Like, it just is gonna run after you.
right.
So if you can you get a weapon, I mean, they're just skin sacks. They have no organs. They're literally just sacks of skin that kind of look humanoid, wearing IKEA outfits, like literally the blue shirt, khakis, whole 9 yards. So I always thought that one was really funny.
Yeah, that is funny. It's interesting though, but
It's
it
really
is
interesting
funny.
because it's one of those other SCPs. It's not like, oh, it's a giant murder monster. No, the store is the SCP,
Yeah.
not the creatures inside of it.
I actually like the ones that are just like either a building or a structure, because it's just like
Mhm.
I always think of how unfortunate it would be for the first ever person that finds that.
Like the lighthouse, like you go to the lighthouse. That one, I can't remember the number on that one, but the lighthouse. has a staircase in it that you hear crying child in. And if
Oh
you,
yeah.
you
I
run
think I
down
do
to the
know that
bottom, and it's just a monster that eats you. And you have to run all the way back up to escape it.
Yeah, like those ones.
Yeah, I
Those
don't
ones
know.
are pretty.
I think the more absurd, the better it is. Typically.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. I also had SCP-003, which is the organic motherboard or biological motherboard. I like it mainly for its containment procedure, because it's technically Euclid, but it progressively becomes Keter. So the thing about it is, it's literally just like a circuit board that looks like it's made out of like fingernails and skin and like parts of bugs, like chitin, I think is the word is. I'll just read you verbatim its containment procedures. It must be maintained at a temperature no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organism of category 5 or higher, 6 or higher complexity may be allowed to come in contact with the SCP. In event of total power failure, if SCP-01 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with the SCP. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP to the above critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in the event SCP-03 reaching activation temperature, lasting a minimum until SCP-01 advances fully to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-3 containment area must first be examined for body parasites of category 5 or 6 or higher complexity and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-3 or 003-1 are to immediately report for sterilization afterwards. SCP-003-1 must not be removed from SCP-003-2 except in emergency procedures detailed above. SCP-003-2's rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-003-2 must be supplied with power via a source designated power generator 003-IX at all times. So technically, 003 has two components, the motherboard itself and a little rune tablet it must lie on that constantly gets powered to keep it dormant. The thing about it is that it is considered sentient.
Wait, that's weird.
So
So-
if the
It's out of those
tablet or the
parameters.
rune was not there, it would be able to act upon itself, essentially.
And it starts growing in several biological ways. Like it grows arms, it grows legs, it starts emitting non-living organic material like dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and all that kind of stuff.
So just any like organic thing,
Yep.
like at all.
And it will just get bigger and bigger until it becomes a giant spider monstrosity.
Jeez.
That is female and can talk. Codename MO3-Gloria is the containment team, I believe, that first interacted with it.
So is there more than one of these? Because how do you return it to its base state?
The
Or
tablet.
do they not? Okay, so you would just have to get it to hold the tablet or put the tablet on it.
Yeah, you have to get it to calm back down, and because it's sentient, you can talk to it. But all recorded conversations are not, or they're expunged.
So if it's made of organic things like fingernails and skin and stuff like that, does it look like a motherboard? Because if not, how would you even know that it's a motherboard?
It looks like a motherboard
Okay.
in its base state, but then it grows around itself.
Oh,
Bill.
okay.
It attempts contact. Here, I'll read you this little excerpt. She tried to talk to us. We all heard her voice in our heads in a sort of half language we couldn't fully understand. Some of the others passed out immediately. I lasted a little longer. But it wasn't because of mental fortitude. It's just that she was trying to tell us different things. So, she wanted to, here we go. She wants to remake the world into a paradise filtered through her own alien understanding of paradise, but still a paradise designed for us, for humanity. She would be happy to make a paradise for any significantly complex organism she comes across first. Anything with a complex enough mind to accept her, say a dog or a housefly. If she breaches again, we have to be there first. Something like that.
That's pretty.
But she was apparently actively analyzing them to make more sense to them. But it's a really interesting read. I highly recommend it. It's one of the classics for a reason.
Yeah, I actually didn't know everything about that one. But
Yeah, I wasn't aware at all. I never even had heard of it.
Yeah, I just really like it because it has very specific containment breaches to keep it basically inactive. But if you let it go too long, it just becomes a giant spider creature that wants to take over the world and make it into a quote-unquote paradise for significantly complex beings like dogs and flies. So it's alien in origin, but not.
Mhm.
It's I find it very interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Any
Okay.
closing thoughts, remarks, anything that you're like, man, that was interesting?
I mean, I really like the pair of tweezers just because of how unconventional that is.
That was an unconventional one. I did enjoy. I didn't
Super-
even know that one existed.
Yeah, super like bizarre and just not normal from well, none of them are normal obviously, but like that one's just super unconventional. I like that about it.
I have cannibal and cannibal dessert on my search feed now. Gonna have to get rid of that. But no, I agree. I like those kinds of SCPs that are like not directly like here's a big scary monster that does
Yeah.
scary monster stuff and does scary monster things in the dark room with the flickering lights.
I know we
Well,
talked about
Ultimately, I feel like it's super easy to write stuff that's really disturbing. So writing something that's interesting and is well thought out is
right.
always going to be better.
Yeah,
Yep.
every time.
I
And
I agree.
we talked about some that were like some that were more known, like the puppet thing, but I hate when you watch a video or something and they're like, these SCPs are like it's like an SCP video or something, and it's the same like 5 that you hear like over and over and over again. It's like 096, the shy guy, and the statue
concrete
that snaps
one,
your
yeah.
neck. It's like, oh my god, like who hasn't heard about these? Like, come
Or
on, dude.
the lizard one that's hard to kill.
Yeah, the immortal like lizard thing. Yeah.
Immortal reptile.
Because it's videos like to this day that
Yep.
are like, yeah, let's talk about these SCPs, and then it's just the same 5, and it's like, dude, come on. There's so many of them out there.
interesting ones. There's so many
yeah,
interesting ones.
There's so many.
I also hear the infinite IKEA a lot, mainly because it's just
Yeah.
a silly concept.
I've
but
heard
it
of that
works so
one.
well.
Well, that's kind of like Backrooms-esque, honestly.
Yeah, it's very
So,
Backrooms-esque, yeah.
and people fucking love the Backrooms.
Yeah.
Now, after SCP kind of did
Oh
that.
yeah.
But-
that SCP's been around way longer than the Backrooms, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
it has. I think
Way
that
longer.
that one's one of the oldest ones.
That's
I
like
think
the
it's
original Backrooms when you think about it.
The infinite IKEA is the original backrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
pretty
would say
much.
so. Just infinitely journeying corridors. But the thing about the backrooms is it has its own thing going on, and the problem
Yeah,
is
it does.
people that do the backrooms content don't really understand the backrooms content because the
Yeah,
backroom
for
isn't
sure.
supposed to have entities in it.
Right,
It's just
exactly.
supposed to have a vague feeling of unease due to its lineal
Yeah,
nature.
it's liminal spaces.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bunch of those rooms connected.
Yeah. Well, guys, this was Lucid Rain. This was also Johnny, aka Floralprintgod. He doesn't have a channel or anything. He's just a cool dude. So
I just showed
yeah,
up.
he just showed up, as he said. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Peace.